Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Simple Knit podcast. My name is Eleanor. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Simple Knit Co, and here on YouTube where I sporadically drop in and share with you all of the things that I have recently been making, mostly knitting. So pour yourself a drink. I have my second cup of coffee from this morning that I forgot about. It is now almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a beautiful sunny Sunday in Brisbane, Australia. This is the first time we've seen the sun in about a week, which is very unusual for this time of year, but I thought I would take the opportunity while we have natural light, not too much neighborhood noise, to sit down and share with you all of the things that I've recently made. So yeah, hope you're all well. A big hello to any new viewers. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast. And as always, a big welcome back to my returning viewers. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to sit down and spend some time with you talking about knitting and being a bit dorky about knitting. So I have quite a few things to share with you today. Actually, I've got 3 finished objects and 3 works in progress, 2 of which are almost finished, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, let's just jump into it. So let's start with what I'm wearing. So I'm wearing, if I move back a little bit, you might, oh yeah, you can just see all of it if I sit at this really weird angle. So this is the Mystic Square top by James N. Watts, and I made this in Bendigo Woollen Mills Bloom 8-ply in the olive grove colorway. It's kind of a color changing colorway, so yeah, it just goes through all of these different shades of green in kind of a random order, and it's a really fun effect. So I knit now this is going to test me because I did this a while ago and I didn't look at anything before I started filming. I knit the size 4, and I used all of the recommended needle sizes and everything. The only modification I made was I added a little bit extra length to the ribbing at the bottom just to make it a little bit longer. And I'm also really stoked, I'm not sure how well you can see it, I'll just show you my belly, but like there's like a nice little symmetry in the way the colors came out in the ribbing, which just pleases me greatly. So yeah, this is a super fun, super quick top to knit. It's kind of like a log cabin structure that you knit the body, you kind of knit it in segments and build it out into a square. I use the recommended needle size. I probably, if I had been thinking, I was a little too like end product focused, I think, when I started this. Had I been actually like thinking, I probably would have gone up a needle size, because the yarn that James uses in this sample is a silk blend, and this is a 100% wool, and it's not a drapey wool at all. So this top definitely doesn't have the same like drape as the original sample did, and I think if I had loosened the gauge a little bit, it probably would have had a little bit more drape, but it's fine. I really like it as it is. It's a nice little kind of between seasons jumper to wear. It's really cute over dresses and high-waisted things, because it is, can't really see it, the bottom of the top is around where my belly button is, so it is kind of a little cropped number. But I love green. Green's my favorite color. That won't be a surprise to any long-term viewers. But yeah, I really enjoyed knitting this. It knit up super quickly. I've never done any log cabin style knitting before, so it was also a new technique for me, which I have terrible like visuospatial skills or whatever. So like from seeing something described on a piece of paper, I really struggle to visualize how that's going to look in 3 dimensions. So like the instructions for this are really super clear, and if you just follow what the instructions say, you get the right result. But I just couldn't, and I knew like vaguely how this kind of like how log cabin designs work, like I understand how they work, but I just couldn't visualize how I was going, like with what the pattern said, how it was going to turn out when I hadn't done it before. So I just sat there reading it over and over again, and if you just do what the piece of paper says, you get the desired effect. And once I'd done it once, I was like, oh, that makes sense. But yeah, I just wish I had that ability for me to be able to like visualize how something's going to move in 3 dimensions without having done it before. Does that make sense? I'm good at lots of things. That's one thing I'm very, very not good at and have never been, and I've tried, whatever. This is a really great pattern. It's really cute. If you look on people's project pages, there are so many fun color combos you could do. It's designed to use like a color changing yarn, but you could use kind of a different color for each block. That would look really cool, or just like a 2 colors contrasty thing. Yeah, it'd be really fun to play with scraps and colors and things. I think it's really cute. All of James's patterns are just so clever. There's always like some fun little surprise in the construction, or it's just an amazing designer. I would love all of their projects. So yes, that is my first finished object. And now on to the second finished object, finally. So this is my Afield cardigan by Fiona Alice. It's finished, it's blocked, it's beautiful. So it's in this very dark grey yarn, so you'll have to excuse me while I try to show this to you while I talk. So this was published in an issue of Pom Pom magazine last year, I believe. It might almost be ready for individual release. But yeah, it is this beautiful textured cardigan. So I knit this in Bendigo Woollen Mills Classic 8-ply in the charcoal colorway, which is this almost black grey. It's absolutely gorgeous. And so the fronts, and actually maybe if I show you down the back it might be easier to see. You have these panels of like slit stitches and twisted stitches. Oh yeah, that's so much easier. So you can kind of see the stitches are going in different directions. And then down the side and on the sleeves is just garter stitch, which is super cozy. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So I knit the 3rd size. I think I knit it on the recommended needle sizes, but it's on my Ravelry page, not in my brain. So yes, I knit the 3rd size, and the only mod that I made was I did lengthen the sleeves a little bit. I will try this on temporarily, but it's actually hot again today, so I won't be able to keep this on for long. But, so as you can see, the sleeves are nice and long. They're like definitely down over my wrists, but not going to get in my way, which was exactly what I wanted. And yeah, it just fits beautifully. It's so cozy. It's so beautiful. I love the, oh, I've already worn it a few times, which is evidenced by the fact that a few of the stitches have pulled already. Fixed it. But yeah, it's just the most beautiful, cozy cardigan. The I feel like you can see the texture a little bit in real life. You can't really see it on camera because the yarn is so dark, but this was an absolute joy to knit. Did I say it was by Fiona Alice? It's by Fiona Alice. And she's another designer that I absolutely love. I've made a couple of her garments now, and yeah, everything she designs is just so beautiful. And yeah, just really like a few like interesting fun techniques just to like jazz up a pretty simple project. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this one other than it's really lovely. And I think these are actually the same yarn base, because they're both in 8-ply, and this is the classic rather than the luxury. So this is the slightly more, like, if you just asked someone to describe like what does wool feel like, this is what you would say. Like, it's not super scratchy, but it does have a little bit of texture to it, which just makes it super cozy, and it wears beautifully. And yeah, I'm gonna have to take it off now because I am a bit sweaty, but I wish I had more to say. Sorry, for a second there, instead of talking to the camera, I've got a mirror there and I started talking to the mirror. I haven't done it. Very professional over here. No, but it's just fantastic. I highly recommend this pattern. Please ignore the fact that I've only woven in the visible ends and I haven't woven in the ones that you can't see when I wear it. But yeah, highly recommend this cardigan. And I wish I'd thought more so I had more interesting things to say. Then I love it. But I love it. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I just realized I have my diffuser on, and I really hope that there isn't like a low hum under all of this that you can hear, because if there is, it's going to be really annoying. So before I do my next finished object, I'm actually going to stop filming and check. So I will be with you in 1 second. Alright, so I just put in my headphones and had a listen. I don't think you can hear the diffuser, so if you can, you have much better hearing than me, but I do have quite good hearing, so I'm pretty sure you can't hear it. So yeah, welcome. I should really podcast more regularly so that I don't end up this useless. Okay, third finished object. This is a really fun one. This knit up in like less than a week while I was on holidays from work. So this is the Luminen jumper by Sari Nordland, and it is knit in Woollen the Gang Crazy Sexy Wool in the, I think it's called Glow Up Cream, but it's this, yeah, kind of this undyed base that has these little flecks of, like little neon flecks that aren't, I mean, they're pretty well spun in, like once it's knit, they're not going to fall out, but I did shed a lot of them while I was working on it. So the holiday house we were staying at has had a little disco makeover, so apologies to those landlords. But yeah, this is just a really cool jumper using this super thick yarn. You can see here it has been blocked, so I was very stupid and I should have woven in the ends before I blocked it, because as you can see, it's kind of almost like a roving. It's really strong, not like, it's much stronger than like Brooklyn Tweed Quarry or something like that, that's not very tightly spun, but it's kind of like an unspun roving-y texture, which meant it kind of puffed up when I blocked it, and now these are going to be an absolute bitch to weave in. So that's future Eleanor's problem, because it's still not quite cold enough to wear this. Sorry, we just had to stop for a plane. I'm not always on the flight path, but when I am, I'm there landing on our roof, so welcome, enjoy the podcast. I'm not sure where I was up to because that plane took like 30 seconds and my brain can't remember what I was talking about. Blah blah blah. I knit the third size. I used the recommended needle size, which was a 10mm needle for the body and I think like an 8.5 for the ribbing. It works up super fast because you're on giant needles. There's like hardly any stitches. So it's one of those things, like I looked at the number of stitches to cast on for the head hole and I just thought, that's not right. That's not very many stitches, and I have a human size head. But as you can see, it's a super, really beautiful loose collar. You could turn it down if you wanted, but I'd probably wear it up, because if it's cold enough to be wearing a super duper chunky jumper, yeah, you probably want to be as warm as possible. So yeah, this is a super fun pattern. As I said, worked up crazy quick because the yarn is so thick, weighs a bloody ton, so not great for like traveling or anything. And even the yarn like took up a giant bag. Luckily we drove 2 holidays so I could take it with me. But yeah, it's a really cute pattern, works up really fast, very satisfying to work on something on such massive needles, because yeah, it just works up so fast. And it's kind of just like a fun, more like statement knit rather than something that's like super practical like that last cardigan. But it's kind of one of the, and this, like these like really big chunky projects are kind of the easiest things to knit because they're so big, they go by so fast. It did kind of hurt my hands though, because the needles were so big and like the motion, I guess, of the knitting was slightly more exaggerated because it's so big. So it did hurt my hands a little bit if I worked on it for like a couple of hours at a time. But this is the kind of thing that people like seem to comment on, because it's so big and chunky, it's a bit different to what you kind of buy. It's a bit more obviously, it's not even, is it obviously handmade? I don't know, people seem to lose their mind when you have something made in like super chunky yarn, when really it's like the things like in detailed lace on tiny like 2mm needles that knitters would lose their mind if you showed them. But yeah, this is a really great pattern if you're looking for something. If you have some like super duper bulky yarn and don't know what to do with it, this this pattern is really great. yeah, once again, nothing super profound. Didn't make any changes, but, and honestly, probably will maybe like once a decade work with yarn like this. But it was like fun to do, but like it's really heavy. And as I said, yeah, it did kind of hurt my hands a little bit because the needles are so big, and this yarn actually wasn't very elastic for the fact that it's all wool except the little flecky bits. It really doesn't have very much elastic to it, so it felt almost more like working with a like plant-based yarn, just with the feeling like how like inelastic it was to work with. So maybe that's also why it was not the most comfortable yarn to work with. But oh, the other thing, it's so long since I finished this, I forgot. So to make the lace thingies, one of the stitches that you do is a knit 5 together, and no, I used a crochet hook to do the knit 5 togethers, and like SSK, but like 5 stitches rather than 2. So yeah, for doing those, I used a crochet hook to pull the yarn through because yeah, there's no way. Like, how loose would you have to knit to do like knit 5 together comfortably? Just use a crochet hook, like instead of the needle to pull the yarn through and then just pop it on the needle. That's not very well explained, but I'm sure you get what I mean. But that's what I did because otherwise those stitches would have been my undoing because they would have been very difficult. So that is all of my finished projects. So now on to my works in progress. So this will be, it's kind of like a half finished object, so it's a nice kind of transition from finished to unfinished, from finished to working on. How? But yeah, it's a sock. I know I haven't knit socks in ages, but I bought some new really cute sock yarn, so I have to knit out the sock yarn that I already have because otherwise my stash gives me stress. But yeah, this is just a simple vanilla sock. This is Knitpicks Felici in a colorway from a number of years ago called Hawaiian Shirt, I believe. It's just cute, like kind of beachy colors. It's 64 stitches on 2mm needles. I use a German twisted cast on because it's super stretchy. Around 20 rows of 2x2 rib, but this I just did 3 color stripes. You can't really see the difference, but there's like a baby light blue and then a less light blue. But yeah, so I did 3 color stripes, then just heel flap and gusset. You can tell it's been a while since I've done one because there's a big old gap where I picked up my gusset stitches, but that's fine. And a little like whatever toe this is, you just decrease 1 on each side every other row. I don't really know what, like there's round toes and wedge toes. I don't know which it is, but it looks like that. It looks like a toe. Yeah, this has just been in my handbag. Super easy. It's a sock. I have cast on the second one, and I was hoping that I'd be able to get them matching, but as sometimes happens with Felici, this ball, the colors are inverse to this one, so they go like in the opposite direction. So unless I like pulled it from a different part of the ball, it wouldn't have been matching anyway. So I decided to just go with it and have like non-matching matching, which is something I don't really mind with like fun stripy socks. I don't mind that the stripes aren't like perfect twinsies. So you can see I've just started my 2x2 rib. I do the ribbing and the heel flap on magic loop or like on a long needle, and the rest of it, and also for the toe decreases I use this, and for the rest of it I use a 9-inch circular needle, 2mm. But yeah, just standard sock, standard on the go knitting. Actually have like been on the go a little bit, which is a nice change from the last couple of years. So yeah, just knitting this, getting it out of my stash and into my wardrobe. Usually I just wear my hand knit socks like around the house, sometimes in boots if it's really cold, but mostly just around the house in my slippies. So yeah, that is I don't mean to be rude, but this is my least exciting work in progress. So we'll get that one over and done with. And now for the more exciting ones. Oh, can you hear the kookaburras? They get really excited when it stops raining. I hope you could hear that. It's just like a fun addition for my non-Australian viewers. And also that is a native Australian, probably a Holden, zooming past. So this is so almost finished. If I would have they sound so pretty. If I would have really like knuckled down, I could have finished this, but I didn't, so I didn't. Once again, I'm knitting in almost black. This is basically black. So now I have to remember. So this is the Weekend Slipover V-neck by Petite Knit. So she's super famous. She's one of those designers. She has some really nice patterns. I did see someone on my Instagram had made this, and that's why. And I was like, oh, that's a really cute vest pattern. I've been wanting to knit like a vest like this for a while. It's just got this really, I'm not sure if you can see, but it's got like a really deep, is this helping? It's got a really deep V-neck. There we go. And then just some ribbing around the arms, and then it's quite long. The body is quite long. So I'm onto the ribbing at the bottom. And I'm using for this project one of my favorite yarns, Knitpicks Wonderfluff. This is the Wellies Heather colorway, and as I said, it's basically black. It's slightly heathered. If it's not black, it's a super dark gray, but really beautiful and dark. I love this yarn. It's so nice to knit with. The original pattern, I believe, is either a DK or a worsted weight yarn, I think, held with a mohair, I think. Apologies, we just had the third plane fly over in the course of me recording this podcast episode. And I don't even remember where I was up to. So yeah, I believe there is an original Slipover that has like a V-neck pattern. Not a V-neck, this is a V-neck. The original version of this pattern had a beautiful big turtleneck, and then Petite Knit has made this V-neck version. It's a really nice deep V, so kind of not, I mean, you could wear it just on its own, go for it, but kind of more designed to wear over a top. So I think it will look really cute over like a polo neck skivvy, or over like a collared shirt for work. It would be really cute too. And it's just a really simple, straightforward pattern. There's a little bit of short row shaping along the back neck. So you, it's top down. You start at the back, you do the back bit down to the armhole, and then you do the fronts. So you work the two fronts separate and then join them up. And then once again, actually I think, no, there is a little bit further. What is it? Actually, the bottom of the V might actually be where the armhole separation is, I think. But anyway, so then you knit and then you just knit in the round, and there's a rib at the bottom. When I bought the yarn for this, I think like with the yardage that they said in the pattern, I was going to need like 9 skeins of this yarn, and I was like, that's not right, because the Magnolia Bloom that I knit in this same yarn only used 5 skeins, and I was like, oh, this doesn't even have sleeves, and it's I know it's at a tighter gauge, but it should be fine with just 5. So I just bought 5 skeins of the yarn, and then I started to get worried when I got to doing the front panels. I started to think, oh, what if I haven't bought enough yarn? This is a much tighter gauge. Like this is on a 5.5mm needle, whereas my Magnolia Bloom, I think I knit on an 8mm needle. So when I got to joining the whole thing in the round, I just then put the body on hold. Then I picked up and did the 2 armbands and the neck band. which are just in 1x1 rib. I did do a tubular bind off on both of those, which is kind of a nightmare in this, because this yarn is like fuzzy, and like especially this v-neck, because it's such a deep V, the circumference is huge. It was an absolute pain. I am not going to be, I wasn't going to, but then like around the neck and the sleeves, I did want, because it's so simple, I did want that really like clean finish, and just doing like a regular bind off wasn't going to give me that. But around the bottom, I am just going to do a regular knit two together stretchy bind off, because like this is quite oversized. I have like 200 and something stitches, I think, and maybe more than that, I have no idea. And the thought of having to do a tubular bind off around the bottom makes me want to cry. So I'm just going to do a regular bind off around the bottom, which you'll be able to see next time I film, because as you can see, I'm already on the ribbing. I only have a teeny tiny bit more to go. I'm on this far into my last skein of yarn, so I have heaps. I bought the perfect amount of yarn, so good job, Eleanor. Yeah, because if I would have bought based on the yardage in the pattern, I would have ended up with like double the amount of yarn that I needed. So yeah, that is the weekend slipover, just a black abyss on the screen. But yeah, I'll wear it next time so you can get an idea of what it looks like. But I'm really enjoying that. It's just great, simple stockinette, really easy. And because this yarn is so light, like I can actually take this out and about. Like I had to go out and do some errands yesterday, and like I took this with me in my large purse, and it's fine. It's not any heavier, not too heavy. So yes, one more work in progress, and then I will let you go, I promise. So this is the project that I'm knitting with some of my advent skeins from Moonrise Yarn Co that I got last year. And this is the Habitation Throw by Curious Handmade, which is designed to use advent yarns. So I'll just hold it this way, because then you can kind of get the idea. So I'm almost done, as you can see. So you start in this corner and you work on the diagonal. And the way the pattern's designed is you just kind of work until you get halfway through your yarn, and then you like increase until you get about halfway through your yarn, and then you decrease, and that's the pattern. And it's just really cute. It's garter stitch and then has this little eyelet row every so often, which is really pretty, and once again really fun and simple to knit. Because this is a 4-ply yarn, I'm working this on, I think it's a 3.75 or a 4. It's a 4mm needle, just using my Licker interchangeables as per usual. And yeah, so I just kind of made a selection of the yarns from the advent calendar. As you can see, like half of it is greens, because I do love green, and then we're going into have this yellow, and then into this like pinky purple section on the other end. So this is what it looks like using 20-gram minis. And yeah, it's just once again a really great, super simple, super straightforward pattern. A great way to use any scraps that you would have or anything like that. I think this one is my favorite of all the colors that I've knit. This like light speckledy one. It's just so pretty. And I just literally just knit until I run out of one color, and then just stop and start in the middle of the row with the next color. Because it's garter stitch and has these eyelets, it's not too, and it's kind of meant to be a little bit kind of colorful and fun. So yeah, because I didn't want to have any leftovers, unlike with my last advent project, the Luminaria shawl, where I ended up with stacks of leftovers. Kind of didn't want leftovers, so yeah, I'm just knitting until I run out of yarn. When I got the advent calendar, actually this colorway here, it just like reminds me of like early 2000s like pop punk, like an Avril Lavigne album cover, the black and pink together. Just makes me so happy. Yeah, so yeah, it's not got, as you can see, this is how it'll be, basically square, and this is like how big it will be. So it's just like a little knee blanket, just like to have on the couch or whatever, to lay down when you're sitting outside or something. It's not like, you could make it massive if you had heaps of yarn, You can make it kind of as big or as small as you want. You can make it, actually even this size, you could probably wear it like as a shawl, which would be fun. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun working on this once again. It's a nice easy project to just work on when you're sitting around. It's really easy to keep track of where you're up to, and when you need to do an eyelet row, you really don't need to have the pattern with you. It's very easy to get the hang of the pattern. And yeah, this is a super popular pattern. I think Helen Stewart released it a few years ago, and yeah, there's heaps of beautiful versions floating around. But yeah, it's a really great way to use up scraps of yarn. If you just had like a lot of 2 colors, you could do like a big 2 color one. That would be really pretty. But yeah, once again, don't have anything super exciting to say about it other than I really like these colors, and I never ever in my life thought that I would knit a blanket. I'm just not. My mum is a prolific blanket, mostly crochet but also knitting, prolific blanket maker. I never in my life thought that I'd make a blanket, let alone a fingering weight blanket. But here we are, and I think because I started this on holidays as well, I got like a really big chunk of it done in a short period of time, so it's worked up really fast. Because that's kind of the reason that I've always shied away, well, mentally, like not wanted to make blankets, because like they're just so big and there's so much yarn and it just takes so long. But here we are, I'm making a fingering weight blanket. So who'd have thought, Eleanor? Look how far you've come. But yeah, if you have advent skeins, highly recommend this pattern. It's really cute. This will be just a really fun little blanket to have for a nice long time, I guess. I don't know where I was going with that sentence, and I have yarn like in my throat. I have a bit of fuzz, like it's like far enough down that I can't get it out, so I'll just have to wait till I swallow it. But yeah, excuse me, it's actually came out again. Beautiful. So that's everything that I've been working on since I last spoke to you. I'd love to hear in the, sorry, once again, so many cars. I'd love to hear in the comments below what you're working on. Yeah, what's happening in your part of the world? Do you have 10,000 planes fly over a day? Because here comes, there goes another one. But that one was very far away. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you're working on and what's going on with you. And I hope that you're all keeping safe and well, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye guys.